CH30 the most powerful force in selling. If I had to pick the single most powerful force in advertising and selling, the most important physiological trigger, I would pick honesty. Selling must be an honest profession. This doesn't mean that if you are dishonest in your presentation, you won't have any successful results. You might get away with it a few times, but eventually it will catch up to you. But this point is not about whether you can get away with being dishonest and for how long. It's about honesty as a physiological trigger, a selling tool. First, let's start out with a very important premise. The consumer is very smart, smarter than you think, and smarter collectively than any single one of us. With all the experience I have in the marketing of products, and with all the product knowledge I gained over the past 35 years, you can take my word for it, the consumer is quite sharp. I have found that the consumer can also tell whether people are truthful in what they are trying to communicate. The more truthful I was in my advertising, the more effectively my message was accepted by my prospects. Lie in your advertising copy and you are only deceiving yourself. Your copy will say what you think you wanted it to say, but it will also say what you thought you covered up. Even a reader who hurries over your copy can feel the difference. When I wrote a JSNA ad, I would include many of the negative features of my products. I would point out the flaws up front. And of course, I would explain why the flaws really didn't amount to much, and why the consumer should still buy my product. Consumers were so impressed with this approach and had such trust in our message that they would eagerly buy what we offered. It seemed that the more truthful and frank my ads were, the more positively the consumer responded. I soon realized that truthfulness was one of the best advertising lessons I had ever learned. 74 Your prospects really appreciate the truth. And you can't fake the truth. If your prospect picks out or even senses a phony statement, it'll kill your credibility every time. I learned to make every communication to my customers truthful, whether it was on national television or in print ads. The more truthful I am, the more responsive my customers. In the personal selling process, it is important to be honest in everything you do and say. No white lies. No smoke and mirrors. Be careful not to exaggerate. Keeping a very clean and honest presentation will do more for your success than any other trigger presented in this book. Yes, you may have moral dilemmas to sort through. Let's say you're working for a boss who is not honest and uses deceptive tactics in the business. You have a choice. You can quit, or you can get mired in the deception. In the final analysis, you often get deceived yourself in the end. If you work for an honest company, your chances of success have already been jump-started. If you use honesty in your answers and in your sales presentations, and if there is total integrity in what you think, say, and do, there is no way anybody is going to stop you from being a success. Trigger 30 Honesty. Epilogue. You've now got the tools. You've just read about the 30 most significant physiological triggers I've discovered from my years of direct marketing experience, and how they apply to the personal selling process. The 30 triggers are powerful. I can attest to each one of them and have experienced their power. You now have the ability to increase your sales beyond anything you've ever experienced before. Utilizing the power of my 30 triggers will give you the added firepower you'll need to grow your business, or increase your wealth exponentially. But you've got to act and make use of this information. My suggestion is to immediately start doing the worksheets in Appendix C, where I've listed each of the triggers and the page number where the trigger is explained. Some of the triggers will have more significance for you than others. Put a red flag on 10 triggers that are the most important in your selling activity and focus on them. Become an expert on your personal top 10 and how they can be effectively used to sell your product or service. Or you can rank each trigger from 1 to 5, with 1 being the most important. Focus on just the ones until you've mastered them, then the 2s, and so on. Use this book often as a reference. If you are interested in furthering your knowledge of direct marketing and wish to read the other books I've written, please refer to Appendix A for 75 more information and buy them from your favorite bookstore. Or you might like to be on my mailing list. Just send me your name and address and a note mentioning your desire to be on my mailing list. Whenever I have a new book or any information that might help you in the future, I'll be sure to send it to you. Make sure to mention that you read triggers when you write. And finally, like any new concept, I'm certainly open to hearing your comments and suggestions. Please feel free to write me or email me at joejsa@aol.com. If you've had any great success as a result of reading triggers, let me hear about that too. Your examples might be helpful in providing insights for a revised edition of this book. I hope you have enjoyed reading triggers as much as I have enjoyed writing it.